Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome for the first time. If you're returning, welcome back, and thanks for helping me practice this month. My name is Dr. Kate Boyd. I am a professor of piano at Butler University. In the month of December, I am practicing my way through the 10 Beethoven sonatas for violin and piano in preparation for performances in January. Today I'm working on the Spring Sonata, and I'm going to talk a little bit about spots in movements 3 and movements 2 in that order. Let's get started with movement 3. Movement 3 is a scherzo, and here's how it begins. That's the opening section of the scherzo movement. What is tricky about this is that we have the melody on top of chords. The melody goes like this. We have to hear that above the chords, and that means we have to voice it. I have to bring out the melody above the other voices in the chords. If I do not voice it, it sounds more like this. All the voices more or less equal. I need to, therefore, if I want the top voice to come out, I need to not only play that louder, but I need to play the lower three voices more quietly. Here are two takeaways for you on how to voice chords. This is a very popular question amongst piano students. The first way to practice this is to practice the chords with the melody long and the bottom three notes short. See what I'm doing there? I'm playing the top long, and I'm playing it kind of out of time, which is fine. Practicing it that way will really help you start to create a firm feeling in the fingertips of the fingers that are playing the melody. The second way to practice this is to play the bottom three notes quietly, alone, without the melody. This might be quite tricky at first for you, so if that is the case, then just take it slowly and go one chord at a time, practicing those. And the idea is you want to go for a very light touch and very interior sound and very loose fingers, so that you put them together and you have the chords voiced out. The second thing I want to talk about is the idea of beat pattern. This piece is in 3/4. In every time signature that you have 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 6/8, 9/8, 3/8, a lot of different kinds of time signatures. With every time signature, there is an implied understanding that some beats are going to be emphasized more than other beats. Typically, the downbeat is going to be the strongest beat of every measure, regardless of the time signature or beat pattern. And then in a 3/4 beat pattern, the second strongest beat is going to be the third beat, which leads to the downbeat or the first beat, and the second beat is going to be the weakest. Therefore, if I'm playing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, beat 2 has to be quite quiet and not equal to beat 1. This is what it sounds like if all the beats are more or less equal. And at a faster tempo, it still sounds kind of awkward. Do you hear how it sounds like every beat is kind of heavy? Ba-ba, ba-ba, ba-ba. But a scherzo really is kind of a humorous movement. Scherzo actually means joke in Italian, and there is a humorousness about this because what he does is he puts the violin together with the piano, and then they're kind of out of sync by one beat, and it sounds kind of like somebody's wrong even when it's right. And so we want to have a light quality. He marks it piano. So the idea is bum bum. He's creating shape just implied by the beat pattern. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. So you hear how I'm emphasizing beat 1 over and over, and beat 2 is very light. And so you can apply this in any piece that you have that's in 3, whether it's 3/4, 3/2. 3/4 is probably the most common one. Make sure that you're shaping based on the beat pattern, and that will already help you make a more musical performance. I'm going to move on now to the second movement of this piece. Before I do that, I want to show you a little bit about how I turn my pages. I've had a couple questions about that. This program I'm using on my iPad is called ForScore, not F-O-U-R, it's F-O-R, score, like for a score. And it contains all of my music in it. And in order to turn the page, I can either tap the page with my finger, or I can use this pedal. It's a Bluetooth pedal, and it links together with the iPad. And if I press the pedal, it makes the page turn. So you can see that. And so I have this pedal on the floor, and I am turning it with my foot as I practice and as I perform. That is how that works. It doesn't happen just by looking, which is kind of what I thought too when I first saw somebody use it. It happens so seamlessly. I thought if somehow it was tracking their eyes, but in fact it is happening with my left foot down here on the floor. I'm going to show you now the beginning of the second movement of this beautiful sonata. It starts off with a piano solo, the way that a lot of these slow movements do. Take the melody over. The melody comes back in measure 30, and this is the spot I want to practice together with you. It is an ornamented version of the melody. I'll play a little bit of it for you. So you can hear how that was different. I had those triplets, and so those triplets are against duples in the right hand. And the idea is that Beethoven wants this to sound quite improvised. And so you don't want it to sound just like metronomic, like 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3. Because that will sound wooden and not improvised. It should sound spontaneous and yet accurate. So I'm kind of starting it, and I'm thinking of moving a little bit, doing a tiny little bit of rubato, and I'm also doing it with dynamics. But then this next one is the tricky one. So I have this little thing, and it's tiny little notes that he writes. I'll show you. He writes them really teeny tiny. You can see they're not even, it's all under one beam, but they're not supposed to be linked in any way with the left hand. So the first step to practicing this is I got to make sure that this is really solid and fast, that I feel secure with the fingering, and it goes all the way up to the D, and no notes are really sticking out. Then I have to just have a very steady bass and thinking of Yeah, there are, if you want to get more granular about something like this, you can count up the total number of notes and try to figure out where you want the middle to be. So in this case, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, so then theoretically, if I play 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that I'm going to put in the middle of the bar, of the beat. So it'll go, that's the idea. So I can practice and then practice the other half of it. So practicing and then putting it together. So that's how I'm working on that. You find the little notes and then you kind of work out the proportion with the left hand, but you don't let the left hand take the fast notes hostage because it should sound very operatic. Beethoven loved the opera and he loved the human voice, and so this is, I think, him trying to emulate that in the piano. And then we have something similar in a minute. You have to spread those out. So we have and then it finishes in. So that's how to practice those variants. When you have a piece that is classical era or even romantic era in classical piano, you can find the place where it repeats, and if the composer made a little variant of it, figure out how that's going to relate to the accompaniment and how that, you know, if you have to count the notes. Chopin does this a lot with a lot of little notes, kind of improvised sounding in his nocturnes and things like that. If you think of an analogy, if you have an opera singer up on stage and you have the orchestra just playing some kind of accompanimental figure, right? This is just the orchestra and the conductor is playing, you know, conducting. And then you have the singer up on stage. The singer is going to take liberties and the orchestra has to follow. The singer is not going to just stay with the orchestra and let the orchestra act as a straitjacket. So if the singer has something like this, the singer is not going to just like try to get it all in metronomically. And so you as the pianist, your right hand needs to be the singer and your left hand needs to be the orchestra. And so when you have those places in Chopin or Beethoven that have a lot of those little fast notes that are supposed to be improvised, think like a conductor and think like a singer, and imagine the larger beat and how those are going to remain stable. But inside the beat, there's going to be some flexibility. So those are our 3 takeaways today. In the scherzo, we talked about voicing the tops of your chords, and we also talked about playing less on the second beat of a 3-beat pattern. And then we talked also in the second movement about how to incorporate really fast improvisatory notes into a very stable rhythmic pattern. Now's the part of the video where I update you on my day, and today is Monday and I had jury duty today. I was called in and I didn't know if I was going to be in a case for a week or if I was going to be selected for the jury, and so I'll give you an update on what happened. I was selected for a jury. We did start a trial. We got through the first witness, and then the judge declared a mistrial, and we were all sent home. And so the whole experience lasted until about the middle of the afternoon. And so I have fulfilled my responsibility for jury duty. I've done my civic duty, and now I will not be called again for jury duty for 2 more years. If you're still watching this video, that means that you liked it enough to stick it out to the end. And if that's the case, please give this video a thumbs up, because that helps the algorithm know that it's valuable content, and it'll help other people find the video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow when I continue practicing the Spring Sonata. Happy practicing!